Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. And in this series of episodes, we're continuing our examination of great Polish cities. And I'm delighted to have with me in the studio my colleague Adam Starzyński, our expert on all things historical, Polish and indeed urban. Adam, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
And I think at the end of the last episode, we'd sort of left Krakow in the 19th century.
Yes, we had discussed Krakow's long and magnificent history, especially when it was the capital city of Poland up to 1596. Then, after the status of capital city was transferred to Warsaw, the city did suffer a slight decline. But at the same time, once Poland lost completely its independence, Krakow did face a slightly different reality and course than the rest of Poland. After the Napoleonic Wars and the Congress of Vienna, it was decided that Krakow would be given the status of a free city. So from 1815, there was much more political liberty in Krakow than anywhere else on the ethnic Polish lands, which again cemented Krakow's role as a center for Polish identity, heritage, culture, and also political thought. This would last for quite a while, up until the Krakow Uprising in 1846, an attempt to launch this nationwide rebellion, which was naturally influenced by the 1840s. Was probably the time when nationalism was the strongest it might have been during the 19th century. Naturally, 2 years later, in large parts of Europe, you had the Spring of Nations, when these revolutions broke out.
That's right.
Across the continent. And it was somewhat of a contagious ideology that was being spread around the continent. But in Poland, this uprising broke out 2 years earlier. However, it was limited to Krakow. They didn't manage to spread it to the rest of the country. The authorities were quite successful in turning peasants against the nobility. They claim that the nobility, they have these strange ideas about national sovereignty, but all they really want to do is have you under their boot. And the peasants, they listened to that message. They didn't have that full national conscience just yet. That was still a few decades away. So Krakow lost its status. However, just 20 years later, it would again regain a lot of political liberty. In 1866, the rising power, Prussia, defeated the Austrians in a war for Silesia. And the Austrians realized that to be able to govern more efficiently, they need their subjects on their side. And the best way to achieve that was to give them more liberty. So in 1866, they decided to give that part of Poland in which Krakow is, it would be known as Galicia by the Austrians. Today it's Małopolska or Small Poland. But this part, it received a provincial diet. The Polish language became the language of government. And the Poles, they really played the main role here. Naturally, there was some rivalry with the Ukrainians, as in the eastern part, not in Krakow itself, but further east. There was also a large Ukrainian minority, which in some areas even formed a majority. So the Austrians, they also wanted to play off the Poles and the Ukrainians against each other. However, you could say that the Poles were still playing the main violin, so to say. The city itself also developed greatly in those years. In the late 19th century, you have railway connections that start to connect Krakow to the rest of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You have this line that goes all the way from Krakow to Trieste, which at that time was still in Austro-Hungarian hands. So travel became quite easy for the people of Krakow, and going from Krakow to Vienna, many Poles served in the Diet in Vienna as members of parliament themselves. So Krakow in many ways has this connection to the continent in a way that Warsaw or Gdańsk or Łódź or any other Polish city might not have in the same way. It was much closer to those central parts of Europe or even northern Italy.
Adam, I'm going to have to ask you to pause there because, as usual, the clock has defeated us. There we are. I've had to ask Adam to pause, but fear not. If you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story of Krakow. In the meantime, thank you for watching.